Thank you. All right, I'd like to call to order the November 3rd, 2021 Gig Harbor Parks Commission meeting. And we start with a roll call. I'll just say your name and if you just say here afterwards. Ben Coronado, Parks Commission Chair, here. Mary Barber, Vice Chair.
Here.
Roger Henderson.
Here.
Anastasia Wright.
Here.
And representing City Council, we have Councilman Spencer Abersold.
Here.
And from the City of Gig Harbor, Public Works Director Jeff Langhelm.
Here.
And also Public Works Assistant Terry Garrison.
Here.
Excellent. All right, and we'd just like to go ahead and do the approval of the October 6th, 2021. Can we approve the minutes even though we don't? Oh yeah, we are quite a quorum, never mind. Of the October 6th, 2021 Parks Commission minutes. If there's any changes or a motion to approve, feel free.
I move to approve the minutes from the October 6th meeting.
All right. And
I second that.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. So approved. Those Gig Harbor 2021 October 6th meeting minutes. I would like to make a change to the agenda in case there's any public comment. I do want to be respectful of people's times, and I would like to give them an opportunity to speak before we get into our full meeting. So if there's anybody who would like to speak on any parks related items at the get-go of our meeting, they have this opportunity now, and I'll circle back at the end just to make sure that everybody's had the opportunity to speak. So if you would like to go ahead and raise your hand, or in the
Look at Georgina's
Zoom.
right there.
Yep, she sure is. We'll go ahead and make you a speaker, and if you could just say your name and address before you start, and then we'll try to keep you to 3 minutes or less, just to give everybody an equal opportunity. I'll give you a little countdown, or don't be offended if you interrupt otherwise. So it looks like we have at least one, and then I also have a sizable stack of public comment to read as well. So if we'll go ahead and start with the people who would care to speak, and then I'll get into some of these as well. So Georgina, I believe we had your hand up first. Oh, and let the meetings reflect that Louise Tiemann joined us as well. Hi, Louise. All right.
Now, hello.
Hi, Louise. Louise, we're just getting to remove the public comment up to the front. So we're going to give some of these people an opportunity to speak at the beginning of the meeting so they can say their piece and be on their way if they need to be. And then we'll circle back at the end as well to make sure that everybody had an opportunity. So it looks like Georgina was, yep. Okay, Georgina, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and just name and address, and then I'll start your timer.
Yes, Georgina Armstrong, 4340 Borgen Boulevard, Gig Harbor. Shall I start, Ben?
Yep, go ahead.
Currently, Shore Park is in a deplorable condition due to errors that were made in constructing the park. Since it needs to be renovated, I think Shore Park should become a community garden and environmental center. The two components will provide excuse me, activities for a very wide age group and social network of young children, adolescents, families, and seniors. The community garden will not only serve residents of Harbor Hill, but it will also serve a humanitarian purpose through contributions to the food bank. And the Environmental Center will support a goal in the city's comprehensive plan that we must protect our natural environment. Additionally, the resources of both the community garden and the Environmental Center will be readily available to educators and students at Swiftwater Elementary School. While Harbor Hill is the fastest growing area in Gig Harbor, the only park that is within walking distance to those living here is Shore Park. By offering a community garden, you will be acknowledging the preference of 75% of participants in the recent Pros Plan survey. Those of us who support this plan understand there is a process that needs to happen, and we are asking that you prioritize Shore Park for master planning and inclusion in the Parks Plan update. With a community garden and environmental center, Shore Park will not just be a green space, nor will it serve just one interest group, but will offer environmentally sustainable activities for a large segment of our community. Given that Shore Park is very small, I would like to make it clear at this juncture that even after the annexation of additional land by the developer of the village at Harbor Hill, a community garden and environmental center will need to use the whole park for such a complex project. The seating and musical instruments will of course remain. Aside from Shore Park, I would like to see the city add to the pros plan update a forest management plan and a geographic information center system known as GIS to track combustible vegetation that can cause a wildfire to grow rapidly. Also, I request adding a climate adaptation plan that addresses more shade in our parks and drought-resistant plants that will only need low-flow irrigation. Water conservation will become vital as we experience a much drier climate in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Georgina. Appreciate that. And next up, we'll have Barb Walton. We go ahead and make her a panelist and she'll have an opportunity. And feel free to share video if you'd like as well, or if you have the opportunity. And then same deal, Barb, if you just want to go ahead and name and address, and then I'll go ahead and start your timer, okay?
Barb Walton, 4340 Borgen Boulevard. And I also respectfully request that you include in the pros plan a renovation of Shaw Park, which is really in very, very poor condition right now. I'm asking that the park become an active park rather than a passive park, and that a community garden and environmental center be constructed. I feel that this plan fits well within the city's comprehensive plan. The city's comprehensive plan would like to ensure that a healthy environment remains available for future generations in Gig Harbor. To these points, a new community garden will focus on organic gardening and will be constructed using sustainable materials. The environmental center will educate children about the need to conserve and protect the natural resources. I sincerely hope that you will consider such a use of Shaw Park. The time for doing it so is now, given that the conditions of the park warrant a complete makeover, and it comes to a time when additional land is about to be annexed to the park. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Barb. And it looks like we have Sarah Lynn Hartson with their hand up as well. Go ahead and make you a panelist, and then feel free to unmute and share your video if you'd like.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you.
Feel free to go ahead and do name, address, and then start whenever you're ready. Oh, looks like you just muted yourself. Yes. Oh, there you go.
Okay, there we go. All right, hello. My name is Sarah Lynn Hartson, and I live at 3506 107th Street Court Northwest in Gig Harbor. And I spoke at the last meeting about the idea of putting in a community garden. And I have since spoken with some other community members, including Georgina. And I'm just here to support that plan and to also be someone to request that the Shaw Park be added to the pros plan update so that we can address the issues with the park and get it into the process of working with the community to develop it and figure out what is most needed there. And that is all I was going to say.
You're muted, Ben.
Oh, thanks for joining us again, Sarah. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Frequent flyers, yep. Next up, we got Jerry Walton. Oh, I'm sorry. It looked like Pam and Vicky had been moved to the panelist. If Pam and Vicky would like to go ahead and unmute There you go. And then name, address, and then feel free to go ahead and start, and I'll start your timer.
Right, we're on a presentation. I don't know if we're on the on the agenda rather
Oh,
than.
I apologize. Pam Peterson,
Yeah.
yes. Okay,
Yes.
okay, sorry.
We just finally got in, so we've been trying to
Gotcha,
get
gotcha.
in. So yeah, we're listening in. Thank you.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and make Jerry Walton, looks like his hand's up next, a speaker, and then feel free to go ahead and start when you're ready, Jerry.
There, thank you, Ben. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I am Jerry Walton. I live at 4340 Morgan Boulevard in Gig Harbor. I would like to make the following requests. That number one, Shaw Park be added to both the pros plan and update and the works plan for 2022 due to the deplorable condition which was created by grading, draining, and planning errors when the park was constructed. Number two, that Shaw Park offer a community garden in place of the current use. This action is warranted given the results of the pros plan survey, which 75% of the participants indicated their support of the city adding another community garden to the park system. This is really important. Number three, an environmental center be included. This would create an opportunity to present educational classes on environmental protection and organic gardening methods. The city then should change Shaw Park from a passive to an active use and provide activities that all residents, young and old, can find physically and educationally beneficial. I thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Great, thank you, Jerry. Appreciate your time today. Is there anybody else who would like to speak during the public comment period? More than welcome to entertain any. Otherwise, I'd be happy to start on some of the submitted public comment as well, which may take a little bit. I see no other hands going up, so I'll go ahead and get into the submitted comments. This one is from Karen Coho. She lives at 4340 Morgan Boulevard. And she wrote in, it has come to our attention that a dog park is going to be proposed for Shaw Park. Since we live about 150 yards from where the proposed dog park will be, beyond the current grass area near the village, I want to go on record against the dog park. The noise and odor of dog feces is not appropriate for either a nice neighborhood or a grocery store and other businesses being identified for the village. NIMBY for sure. I have another engagement and won't be able to speak to this concept tonight, but I hope you will take our disapproval of the dog park concept seriously. Thank you, Karen. Another submission.
Hey, Ben. Jeff has his hand up.
Oh, I apologize, Jeff, go ahead.
Ben, I was just going to note that I understand from Terry there are many written comments for tonight's meeting, and depending on how many there actually are, maybe some of them are duplicative. You can note that there are multiple comments that are duplicative. You could just read the names possibly, or depending on how many there are, I don't know the exact number. It is appropriate. I talked to the city clerk earlier this afternoon. It is appropriate to simply note that there are more submissions than we can fit into our meeting time, and they're going to be provided to the Parks Commission members and available for the public to submit any requests to review the public comments, and will be added into the record.
Okay. How would the commission like to do that? I mean, I'm happy to sit here and read them all. There's probably 30 comments or so, 30 plus. Some of them are duplicative. I'd be happy to read this one, which had almost 100 people sign it, if that would make sense. Any comments on how you'd like to proceed with that? Okay. Well, yeah, since it is so sizable, I'd be happy to double back later in the meeting if we decided to go ahead and read through these. Otherwise, I mean, definitely making them available to the Parks Commission. You know, I do want to respect the time people took to write in and voice their opinions and share those with the Parks Commission. They are very telling that, you know, there's lots of opinions about Shaw Park. And then also please let the record show that Will Appleton joined us. Hello, Will. So unless anybody else would like to speak regarding public comment, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the new business item, or the old business of the pros plan update. Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to the pros plan update, old business item number 1 for the time being. So recently we finished our stakeholder groups for the pros plan. Our stakeholder, we had 4 different stakeholder groups identified. One was the 65 and older age groups. One was recreation and sports users of parks. Another one was history, arts, and conservation users. And the last one was families of young children. And so each of these had unique questions to spur conversations regarding, you know, comments we heard back from the survey that we issued 2 months ago now. So it was kind of an opportunity to dive deeper into what we heard from the community at large and focus in and narrow it down to a little bit more of a not so broad of a subject and get more of an idea of what's really needed. So we had really good feedback. General consensus was that yes, trails are important, water access is important, conservation of land is important. Those were all, you know, themes found throughout each of those conversations. And those are available in our agenda packet as well, if you want to read further into those. So there was a lot of great information still coming from the community. So this was the second of 3rd outreach efforts by the Parks Commission for the pros plan update. The 3rd one is going live today, I believe, and that's the open house, the pros plan open house, and that'll be open until Friday, November 12th. And so that's the last of the opportunity we have for the community to be engaged at the draft level before we finalize the draft and move forward with that to the council and the other state agencies that need to approve that. So yeah, like I said, there's an opportunity for more involvement from the community by taking part in the open house, which is available through the city's website, and we will be advertising that through our respective outlets, whether that be email or social media or the city's website.
And can I just add something on that? Terry, if you can send a flyer out to the commissioners, and if everybody can distribute that to your own contacts and that kind of thing throughout the community, I think the more people who know about it, the better. And Laura Pettit from the communications department is going to be sending out the same releases and that kind of thing that she did on the survey. But we do have a flyer that you can use if you like.
And that was a really successful outreach that we did earlier with the survey. You know, like I said, we had, was it nearly 1,000 total
1,000.
respondents? Yeah. So that was a really successful effort on everybody's part. So, you know, hopefully, you know, we'll have something similar from the open house with kind of a more narrowed focus on what we're looking for. So like I said, this is the last opportunity, the online open house before the Parks Commission does its review, and that's hopefully at our next monthly meeting. And then after that, we will have a joint meeting with City Council and Parks Commission where we hope to provide the draft to the council. And then we start submitting to state agencies, and then the City Council starts their first reading and their adoption or ordinance in the new year and with a new council. So that's what I have for the pros plan update. We're still working pretty closely with Steve from Conservation Techniques, and then Terry and Jeff and Mary and Roger and I. And Roger, maybe what's your role gonna look like in the coming months? Are you still full board parks, or are you gonna?
All right. I guess I get sworn in on the 13th of December. So until that point, I'm 100% committed to this.
Love to hear it. Okay, so it sounds like then you'll probably be able to hopefully finish this process out at the parks level. And if not, we'll see you at the next level then, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, Mary or Roger, do you have anything else you'd like to add on the pros plan update, or Jeff or Terry?
No, I was just gonna state to everybody that hasn't seen, the summaries that were sent out by Terry and Jeff, we got some really outstanding input. I mean, I'm amazed. And the neat thing is it kind of validated also the online surveys and the hard copy surveys. So I think it's a good representation of what we've got here in Gig Harbor and what people are looking for. So I think it'll serve us very well. I'm actually real pleased that we took as many courses and paths to get input from everybody.
Yeah, I think so too. Overall, I think it adds to just a better overall product with, as much community input and that we strive to get. So I'm really happy with how robust that community input has been too, with the engagement from the community and how responsive they've been.
And Ben, you had alluded to some of the dates, the milestones for the pros plan. I was just going to show on the screen real quick the schedule that we have.
Yes, please, that'd be great.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, hopefully you can see this. It's just a simple table. It goes through many of the tasks that we've put forward for the pros plan update. You can see that as Ben noted, open house, well, it hasn't been updated, obviously, since last week, but the open house draft was completed and the Parks Commission meeting on today is occurring. But looking forward, we have, as Ben noted, we've got our Parks Commission online open house opening and closing. We've got our Parks Commission that's going to be reviewing it at their next meeting on December 1st. We're going to have our joint City Council Parks Commission meeting to talk about the pros plan on December 9th. And then we're going to be going through a few processes that are required for review through SEPA and Department of Commerce, that's DOC. Their 60-day comment period is there. We're going to submit a draft of the pros plan to the RCO in January. Depending on when we submit that, we may also be submitting a request to submit the pros plan beyond the March 1st deadline. And then we'll have a first reading at council and a second reading at council adopting the ordinance. So that's our schedule.
And as far as the consultant has tells us we're right on schedule, we should be able to meet state requirements for the deadline. He said there is a little wiggle room, a little gray area on that deadline with RCO. But yeah, he said we're looking great, so there shouldn't be any issues. So thanks for everybody's really hard work on this. It was a lot to take on. So yeah, we're looking good on this. Any questions, comments? No? Okay. Well, in that case, we'll go ahead and move on to the new business. I do believe the Rotary Club of Gig Harbor is here, represented by Pam Peterson, to give us a little information on what they might be proposing for a park. Clean Dog Park proposal for Shaw Park is what we have in the agenda. So Pam, I'll go ahead and give you the floor there and tell us what you got in mind. And do you want to go ahead and share your screen, Pam, or are you good?
Yeah, I do want to share my screen here we go. Let me go to shared screen. I just want to thank you. I want to tell, yeah. Okay, I'll share here we go. Am I giving you everything here? Or have you got just the one screen? Anyway, I want to thank you. We've been trying to get probably to this point of just coming here to give you the conceptual idea of what we had and kind of the background. is if you on the screen right now, if you see a picture of Shaw Park and you see where the green part, the green, somewhat green area and of Shaw Park, which is now strictly Shaw Park, and the zigzag or the jagged at the top of it, you see where the jagged sidewalk is. This concept started way back when I came to the Parks Department, and but with Rotary concept of putting instruments in that area. And so far we've got all 4 instruments. The fourth one's going to go in as soon as it dries up enough to be able to paint the spot for it. But it was back in 2017 when Shaw Park was, people always ask, where's Shaw Park? Well, I'm glad to see that Shaw Park has now become a very focal point in a lot of people's eyes, because this poor park has just been sitting here. And it was a pleasure to be able to start with these instruments. Well, while I was out there with these instruments, I was talking with one of the staff members and I said, boy, I had been utilizing a dog park down in Palo Alto or Los Altos, California, because I was taking care of my uncle down there and we have a good sized dog. And it was just great. And we started talking and he said, wow, that would be just such a great concept. This is back in 2018 now. That'd be a great concept. And if you look at where the pink area is, he kind of pointed to that, not particularly that area, I think more towards where Shaw Park really is. There's that where the rectangle is right now is not part of Shaw Park. But he said, that'd be a great place because it's very difficult to grow things in this area. And I said, oh, okay. So a little bit of time went by and then I started gathering some people. And so on the initial team, just to get the concept thinking, okay, is this a great place for it? Should we do? Well, Scott Young from Rosedale Gardens, I think he should be on the call. He might be on by phone. And then is part of it. And he's part of the Rotary Club too. And if you know him, he's all around with Rosedale Gardens. Bev Cheney from Herons Key and Vicki Diamond, who is with me here, who is a citizen, but also was the manager of planning for the county of Tacoma. Pierce County, I'm sorry, Tacoma, Pierce County, I get that mixed up. Pierce County has a lot of planning background. So she's been helping get through a lot of the understanding of what happens in planning and what we need to be thinking of. So with those great people to start with, we started thinking about this dog park. And so, and the reason being is, and this also started about the same time that Bill Llewellyn, I believe his name is, began with the Friendship of Harbor Hill Environmental Sanctuary. And I got to talking to Bill with a few other folks, and he said, well, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. And I said, what would be nice is to make it so walkable and usable for all those people in the community in that area, because it is a very fast growing area. To be walkable from Herons Key, from Harbor Hill and Harbor, the Barcelona and all those other areas that you walk around. There's a dog park, a freelance dog park, which we are calling the urban dog park now, not just the clean dog park. And also walking to this sanctuary that they are putting together, and being really collaborative and trying to make a big picture of how that would look. And so we're getting to, now that COVID kind of put us off the heels of like everybody else did. But so anyway, with that concept, we started thinking, okay, how could this look? And so I was bringing forth the pictures that I've had from the dog park that we used down in this very urban area, and thought this would be a great idea. And so we've met with city council leaders and city staff, and just getting kind of, what do you think? There is nothing in place in this area right now except for that orange colored, salmon colored square. That's the only thing. And that has nothing to do with anything other than it's just a placeholder showing a park that would be, if it was built like that, 75 by 120, 150. Anyway, and that is all conceptual, just everything is changeable and completely could be turned up on its ear of how it would be even put together, because this is we want to make this a whole community factor, not just the Rotary Club of Gig Harbor, even though, you know, we're doing a lot with the sanctuary. We've already given them $5,000 for their sign, but we're also going to be doing a lot of the labor when they call for us. So that's what I'm talking about when we talk about a whole intervention of happiness and help and helping hands come into doing this. And so with that, and what I was going to say is bringing in a lot of nonprofits into this whole concept, meaning going to some of these smaller clubs and smaller organizations that can't do a large project, but would like to really do part of the large project to become part of the community and get a lot of hands make little work. And so that was the beginning of it. And so it became a concept, and now it's got a little bit more legs to it. And so what we're going to show you is trying to get like, this looks like a good idea. And I'm going to have Vicki talk from this part about the urban dog park and give you some other background on it. Okay, Vicki.
Okay.
Since you can't see us.
Thank you. My name is Vicki Diamond, and Pam and I have been talking, and I'd kind of like to explain a little bit about what the concepts are. Again, she's saying, and this is total conceptual. Where you see the orange, those are dimensions that can change. The configuration can change. But what's important is that location somewhere in there. Right now, that property is owned by the developers of Village at Harbor Hill. Part of their administrative approval was that they would enhance Shaw Park by donating property. Now, why we chose that location is because of several reasons. One, it's closer to the commercial and business park area, but there will be residential, to my understanding, above the commercial aspect. Also, then it leaves the remainder of Shaw Park that's truly now in the ownership of the city of Gig Harbor for other types of activities that have been mentioned before, should the city agree upon that in the Parks Commission, for raised garden beds or community gardens and other activities. The dog park we refer to as urban, and the reason that we have done that is because our concept is that of a different level than that of the rural dog parks that we see mainly in unincorporated Pierce County, but close to the vicinity, and a lot of people use them and like them, such as McCormick Park and McCormick Forest. And there's the Rotary Bark Park, and also Tubby's Trail. A lot of these are forested with cleared trails for running and for horses and dogs on leashes. Those areas that are off leash in these dog parks are they are cleared with a dirt surface and voluntary grasses that grow up. So what we're looking at is something much, much different than that. We're looking at a dog playground, you might say, that is upscale, that fits with the business and the residential areas that surround Shaw Park. So that's why we've kind of tagged it as an urban park versus a rural park. The proposed dog area that's before the commission that we're talking about, as you can see, is having a wrought iron fence instead of wire. Also, we're looking at, there's a special turf. It's specifically made for dogs that would be placed upon and prepared, the ground would be prepared, and this turf would be placed over that. And this turf is specifically for dogs, not like other turfs. And also we were wanted to do large rocks that people could sit on and interact with the animals, and the kids could sit there and what have you. Also, we'll have watering
stations and poop stations. Also, I think of a big concern is the odor that was suspected to happen with a dog park in this vicinity. Is that we anticipate on the installation of a sprinkler system to be used in the evenings after dusk when the park is vacant and closed. So these sprinklers would come on in the summertime and over the entire turfed area, which will cleanse that. During the rainier or colder months, the rain would take care of that. And of course, the owners are required to pick up their the larger debris from their pets. And so there'll be bags there and also an area for disposal.
Solid debris
Gets picked up, yeah. Also looking at hopefully with our contacts in making, getting some art in there of animals. And I'm talking something of this nature that you see now, something that's cute and whimsical, fun, but yet attractive, and along with possibly some grasses in that area that will grow around the wrought iron fencing. Also, maybe even there'll be shade areas, also areas that may be interactive with the dogs and their people folks, such as maybe ramps or something that you might see in an agility park, that they have, they can jump on, they can have fun with, but not dangerous to the children or other members of the family. But those are kind of ideas that we have passed through that we'd be working towards, is to make this a very attractive area that people can walk to, bring their dogs, lots of dogs in the harbor area.
Just as a comment on that, we were just kind of checking how many dogs are in this big harbor area, and nobody really could give us an amount, but one vet did tell us they had 10,000 clients. Now, some of those would be kitties, but there's an awful lot of dogs in this area. So the utilization of Shaw Park could be exactly what the Parks Commission wanted 4 years ago, was more activity at Shaw Park, which is a real plus. And if you look at these little pictures here, you see this gentleman walking over. He was a dog walker, and he has numerous dogs. He had 4 dogs in here, but he's over here getting ready to pick up his dog's solid waste here. And and the activities were showing that the people could sit here. This becomes a very social area. In fact, the time that I was in this particular park, I was talking to a young lady who happened to be a traveling vet, and she was doing a chipping for animals. And I took my dog the next day to the place where she was chipping dogs. So it is a very social, the dog owners are pretty social. And this right here is an entrance to the dog parks, because all dogs inside the park have to be off leash. And that's what keeps dogs friendly, is when they're off leash. So every dog is taken off leash here and let go in here, where you can see people talking and sitting, reading. And just one more little thing so you can see what kind of things are in there is, here's what their rules look like, just as an opportunity. And then here is a picture of a drinking fountain. So they have human and dog drinking fountains right there. So there was 2 of them in the park, and that's probably what we would be looking. Obviously all this is under concept of what we want to do. It's just that we want to get to you to say, this looks like a good concept, before we put a lot of elbow grease into getting all the facts and figures. We want to say, this does look like a good idea.
And
So,
and
go ahead.
also, I think a big thing is that we want to minimize the maintenance of this park as much as we can, and but involve others instead of just having the city and the Rotary, involving other members of the community in it, and make it a total community park for the dogs and the kids to play with the dogs. There's concern about barking. And I understand that. However, it is not, this dog park is not going to be like a dog that is in the backyard and lonely. This dog is, the dogs in there are playing. Yes, you will hear barking, but not the constant barking or annoying,
Not a nuisance bark.
not a nuisance bark. So
Downloaded.
I think that in listening to some of the comments that were made, and also given the location that it is not in, this is not proposed to be in the original Shaw Park boundary, but that is going to be acquired with the development of the village at Harbor Hill. Then it leaves room for many other kinds of activities that the comments were made prior to our presentation.
Mhm.
So, I think it's attractive. It would, we want to make it an asset, obviously, to the citizens of Gig Harbor and also the commercial activities around there.
Just in closing, I think you know that we and Gig Harbor are known as a very friendly dog city. If you walk in most places, you'll find dog bowls sitting out, and dogs, especially, when I live downtown, dogs are all over the place. And that's a real big value that you bring to your citizens, especially a park like this where I can take my dog, which I cannot take out during the winter time to any of the parks out here because she would be a mess. But I would take her in the rain to one of these parks, to this park, because she could run and go play and be off leash and get that exercise and not be dirty. And that's the real benefit of it. And plus, it's environmentally, we're working extremely hard looking at the environment, and we got some information from Jeff on how the things that we kind of need to really pay attention to, and we just take those to heart. So it's a tremendous value to the citizens of Gig Harbor to have something like this. And another thing, Shaw Park is I found when you guys told me we need to do something with Shaw Park back in 17. This is a great spot because it's hard to grow something there. But not only that, all over Gig Harbor, you can walk to this park, you can drive to this park, you can bike to this park, and you can take local transit to this park, which really makes it advantageous. And we plan to, our Rotary area, that our community service group that's doing this work and working with the Friends of Harbor Hill in the environmental sanctuary, we want to collaborate with all this, and the collaboration of being able to tie this together as this all comes together is just really exciting. So we're looking for like a thumbs up, go for it, but not to say that this is a done deal, because there's a whole lot of work that has to be done. We have a whole lot of work to do with the community and also with finding the cost factor. The cost factor alone, we figure from Scott, and Scott, if you're on here, please speak up, Scott Young, is close to 200,000 because we're not going to skimp. We're not skimping on this.
I mean,
oh, you're right here, Scott. Do you have anything you can offer, Scott? You're the expert. Maybe about the grass, because the grass always seems to be a concern. The smell and this kind of turf.
Well, I've been installing synthetic turf probably for 10 years or better now, and it holds up really well. And the thing that you need to remember is not the same as the old fields, the ball fields. The amount of rubber and stuff that goes into them isn't anywhere near. They're laid a lot different than what they used to be laid to be able to be put in. And they're much more natural looking because they have a thatch built in, so that makes it look much more natural. And the blades actually come back up standing even after playing on the blades will come back up to a natural state. So the turfs have come a long way over the years.
And so this would stay fresh and good looking. And I know Scott has many beautiful rocks to put in some place like this.
We might find a place or two.
Yeah.
Also, we understand too, with the sprinkler and even the development of it to be environmentally sensitive to this, will be the correct storm drainage that the city would approve for it, obviously. So You know, I think we've thought of a lot of things. Of course, we're totally open for redesign on, so it's not just a triangular. We can come up with a design if that's a desire by the community. We'd like to meet with community people to try and incorporate to the best of our abilities those that are desirable assets. Are there any questions that you have?
Yeah, great presentation. Thank you for your time today. Yeah, I definitely want to open it up to the commission with any questions. If anything jumps off the page, if not, I'd be happy to throw one or two your way.
Okay.
Mary, go ahead.
I guess my first question is probably more for Jeff, I think. I'm not really sure, but I'm wondering where the development agreement stands, or where the agreement is with the people developing the village at Harbor Hill, as far as what is our ability and what is the process for changing the size of the existing park from what it's my understanding the current agreement is. And I guess I'd like to hear a little bit from Jeff on what the process is if we decide that this is something that we want to go forward with. It seems like I was under the impression it went in the pros plan and then we kind of went from there, but this seems a little bit different from that. So I guess I'm asking Jeff's input on where we are and where we go.
A couple questions there. I'll start with the question on how will this property be provided or donated to the city. It is in the Village at Harbor Hill site plan that the developer is proposing to provide this park site to the city. It's not for sure. It's likely because that's what they told us. I'm not a planner, but my understanding is that when the village site is developed, it will go through a binding site plan process or a site plan process. And at that point, this property would be donated to the city by the developer. And so it wouldn't be until then that we could do anything with it. And then to your second question, I believe, which is how do we plan for this? Two ways. One, it could be outright directed in the pros plan to do such a facility at Shaw Park, assuming it is at one point the property is donated to the city. Or the pros plan could just identify something as generic as there are many options being proposed for Shaw Park, and Shaw Park could have a visioning process for it once this property is put into the city of Gig Harbor's ownership.
Okay,
Yeah,
that helps a lot. Thank you.
one of the, can you see me?
I can't see you.
Vicky has something to say.
Okay,
I talked with Katrina because I had a question about the timing on the acquisition or the dedication of the additional property to Shaw Park from the developers of Village at Harbor Hill. And at the point, the city can approach them and say, this is what we would like to do, or do you object to dedicating the property at the time prior to the binding site plan that's required per the administrative design review approval. If they don't care to do that, then the timing would be when they turn in for their binding site plan and comply with the other requirements of the administrative design review. And that would happen, then the property then would be turned over to the city. But she anticipated that probably applications may be coming in shortly on that proposal. Of course, no definite timing yet, but that's kind of the information that I got when I was questioning the timing of the property coming into the city. Thank you. And also, we're not looking at immediate,
Mhm.
obviously, anything immediate right now. We're looking at and talking with some of the city staff is looking at proposing, bringing this proposal ready for the 2023 budget area time work plan. So
Okay.
it gives us about a year, less than a year to really get all of our eggs in the basket and all the costs and all the people wanting to sponsor it. We just need a thumbs up or a go ahead or whatever we need to do with the city to say that if all of us do this kind of work, that it's not going to go down into a drainage pond.
Right. Okay. I think we got a couple more questions if you're up for it. Luis?
Mine is with regard to the useful life of the turf and things like that. Over at PennMet, we're about to start a major turf replacement project on our huge turf field. This is obviously not that big, but there's both over 10 years of the time it's been in. It has expired in its useful life, and it's also having drainage issues. So these, I think that's normal. Maybe Scott can speak to whether turf that's very modern has a different useful life, a longer useful life. But I would certainly want to make sure that we had factored in what planned major maintenance looks like for a turf field and inevitable drainage factors, because they are going to happen. Scott, do you have information just quickly about how useful life looks?
Yeah, typically a field is going to last less than like the dog park or like a residential area. Normally you figure anywhere from 12 to 18 years, and the average is right around the 15-year mark. And the newer turfs are a little bit better, but again, it depends on how heavy a use. And like PennMet Parks, it's pretty heavy use, and so it gets more. And it's a different type of turf. It's a different turf than what this is. And they do make dog turf, and they also make just there's several different types of turf that you can consider. So it kind of depends on which one you use. And as far as drainage, normally we use a crushed rock base on all the installations we do. So it's basically a pervious surface, and the drainage issues aren't quite as bad depending on what your subgrades are.
Thank you.
Thanks. Roger?
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, I have some comments, concerns, questions before we could ever say yes, no on this. But I've seen the site plan for the village at Harbor Hill with a pretty detailed landscape plan for that annexed area. I'm not sure how binding that is. Maybe Jeff could chime in on that, but it's a relatively detailed plan, planting schedules, a pretty good civil engineering plan and landscape. That's the first thing. I don't know how binding that is. I'd hate to see something like that put in and then we have to tear it out for this. So maybe that's more of a planning issue versus public works.
You're correct, Roger. It is more of a planning issue, but it is, I can say this, since they have not submitted a complete application, it's still up in the air. There is development agreements that identifies some of the amenities that they will be providing, but the actual layout is still up there.
Okay. Then I had some questions on the artificial turf. I know when I moved here, I chatted with the city briefly on how they envision or at least see artificial turf. And the city, I think, unless maybe Jeff, you might be able to chime in on this as well, I think the city sees that as an impermeable surface, right? Because for those of us that own houses, there's a certain percent of our total area that is allowed to be impermeable, and apparently artificial turf, unless it's changed by the city, is considered not a permeable substrate.
It depends on what's below the turf. The turf itself is permeable, but oftentimes, and Scott alluded to it, the subgrade itself is compact crushed rock, and that is typically considered impermeable. Although when the Gig Harbor North Sports Complex Phase 1A turf fields that we're looking at, there's actually proposed to be concrete underneath it. So again, completely impermeable. So it depends. If there is loose rock beneath it that's not compacted in some sort of gallery, I could see that it would be considered permeable. It depends on the loading, of course. It's not going to be driven on, so you could probably get away with not putting compacted materials underneath a dog park.
So typically you'd use a clean crushed as opposed to a crushed with fines, so that then can be compacted, but it still keeps its, makes it permeable.
Okay. I think the soil out there is not particularly good soil, as we all know. I mentioned before that site struggles to grow weeds. It might be pretty well compacted. Is there going to be I think one thing that I would want to look at is runoff from it, and runoff that's now contaminated with dog waste, perhaps. And I guess I had another question on the water usage. It was envisioned that during the summertime, when there's in the evening, there would be sprinklers running to try to wash everything out. It is a concern to me, and with our global climate change and our water resources being used in that fashion, we'd have to look and see how much water that would be, but that could be substantial. Clearly, it wouldn't be used in the winter because we have kind of natural resources for that, but summertime. Some other issues that I would also need to have looked at pretty closely is who actually is going to be cleaning the park, who's going to be taking care of it. Again, I'm a avid walker cyclist. I'm on the Cushman Trail a lot, and there's a lot of dog waste left there. And I don't want the city to be burdened with having to clean that up. And then I guess the last thing that we would need to look at is with dogs running free. Is there a liability issue to the city if a child were to be bitten? Because it is a city park and it would be a city sanctioned kind of a thing. So those are some questions I have. I wouldn't expect any answers tonight, but those are some things that came to me during that time.
Thanks, Roger. I'd imagine with the liability, it wouldn't be any different than a dog walker on Cushman in my mind, but
Correct. That's correct.
just pops off. Will, you also had your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just I love the idea. I think it's a brilliant idea. I like it a lot. But a couple concerns, and then maybe a question or two. One concern is that we recently had I believe public comment about this same park where there was a request that we look at potentially putting in some type of a community garden. Is that accurate? And I think the committee and this committee took that comment in and those ideas. And I think what we acknowledged is that there's no master plan for this park, and there's no master plan for many parks. And yet there's a multitude, as evidenced by this one, of great ideas for how we can expand these parks or improve the existing parks. And so I would ask what the process is that we would want to put in place to decide, what we sanction or how we go about soliciting ideas, if that's what we're doing, or is it first come, best idea gets the prize. So that's more of a comment and would welcome discussion on that. Again, love the idea. Just want to be sure that if we're taking ideas, we make the community aware of that. And then a question to Jeff. So binding site plan. So this is just a commercial subdivision. We still don't know what the dedicated area is going to be, nor what the parcel size is or exact location, but it's contemplated that it's up against Shaw Park. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. We can't say for sure what the parcel size would be, but the developer has provided us preliminary site plan drawings, and it does clearly outline with dimensions the proposed addition to Shaw Park.
And this is additive to the park. So there's no conditions that, we dedicate this property and it's used for example, a dog park. It's just that we're dedicating this property for use in combination with existing.
As a park, City of Gig Harbor Park, that's
As a park,
very
okay.
generic.
And is the is the intent that you've seen, Jeff, that it be as big as what was indicated on the map that Pam and Vicky showed?
Yes,
Okay.
it's approximately the same size as what was previously dedicated to the city.
Okay, okay.
And then the last question, I do have one question that I would ask Pam and Vicky, and that is this contemplated to be a walking dog park, as in people walk to it, or is there a parking concept that people would drive their
Yeah,
themselves and their animals to it? Because
There
I
is
can
some,
see a lot of demand for this.
there is some, I'm sorry, there is some designated parking slots that the city has done for Shaw Park. This is a walkable too, and like I said, walk, drive, and the driving also with the opportunity of having the shopping center right next to it is also advantageous, because that one, it just, besides just being the shopping center, also has parking there that I think that, if I'm not speaking out of turn, Jeff, that is allowable for the usage also. And it, when you have a dog park like this, I would say there is usually 15 to 20 people at this urban park that I went to all the time at about the same time. And but other than that parking that's designated right now, and possibly that of Harbor Hill, is the only parking we know for that. Is that right, Jeff?
Well, that's my understanding from, yes, from your proposal that the dog park would utilize both the anticipated future parking for Shaw Park, because Shaw Park doesn't have vehicle parking right now.
Right.
But it is proposed as part of the dedication of future property to have parking once the site is developed on the south side of the park. And there's just a few stalls. And then, I mean, similar to how in the Public Works looks at vehicle trips, there's, you could easily justify, which is going to be required to be determined based on the community development director's decision about how many trips this park would actually generate and how many parking stalls would be required. But you could say that, you know, people go to the village, Harbor Hill, to shop, and they could also at the same time for after their shopping trip or dinner or you know, restaurant use, bank use. And there's gonna, like you said, there's gonna be residents nearby, so some of those people will be just flat out walking, but you can determine how many parking stalls will be needed based on people making this park a destination, or it's a secondary use of parking need for what they're already going to Village of Harbor Hill to do.
Okay. And our intention in this is, by all means, you know, starting out with you and our concept is to be as collaborative as possible for any other ventures that could come to this park at this time and come about. So especially like the family, the Friends of the Harbor Hill, and making that conducive to be able to go to the dog park and walk around the sanctuary, and also the streets, and also playing the instruments. Can't forget those instruments. So I just want to, I know this is getting timely now, so I just want to thank you for this time. I guess we want to find out, we'll find out from Jeff or from Terry if this is kind of a thumbs up, go for this, start working on it, or what the next stage is. I'm not really sure, but I just know we have a lot of work ahead of us.
Great. Yeah, Pam, thank you so much for your time, and Vicky and Scott, you know, thank you for, you know, taking the time to come and speak to us. And, you know, I do share some of the concerns of the commission with like turf and the water usage, and, you know, even with the grocery store going in there, I'm like, okay, would people, you know, leave their cars in the park to go shopping, leave their dogs in the car while they go shopping or something like that? You know, we already have a big issue with that. I know in town that shows up all the time. It's like, oh, somebody left their dog in the car and it's July. And it's like, okay, if they're just, you know, going to the dog park and then go grocery shopping or something like that. That popped in my mind. Anyhow, I could see how there'd be a big need for this, especially in that neighborhood where there's so many families, because families have pets. You know, and so, and with, you know, there's a lot of these houses I feel like are close together and they don't have that opportunity to have, you know, the dogs, you know, go out and run around and stuff like that. So I could see how there'd be a very large need for this in that neighborhood, especially.
And I gotta tell you, it really is a fun park to watch. And people, I'm gonna bring up something sometimes causes controversy too, is like the small and large dogs. There's no issue with small and large dogs. They all play together, and some of them play and some of them read the email all the way around the grass. So it's pretty fun.
And we refer to it as P-mail.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought it was funny.
I get some humor here.
Yeah. In like I say, dimensions can change, configuration can change. We just want to be open. We just put something on the map to give you an idea of what the location is, which is much different than what I think a lot of people thought it would be.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just want to say, the Rotary's always had such great ideas. They always come to us with such great ideas, and other, commissions and boards throughout the city and the community. And, they really contribute so much. And, so I want to thank you for being a part of the Rotary and being part of, adding to our community.
That's what we're here for.
Thank you. I was just looking at our updates for November 2021, and just looking at that, and a lot of it's pandemic related and a lot of it's just growth related, but just seeing project after project being pushed out, because there is so many projects that the city's working on. The city employees are very busy, and there's so many park projects they're working towards completing simultaneously. So I certainly agree that there should be something at Shaw Park, but I want to temper expectations that there's a lot already going on. And so this is going to just get the ball rolling, I hope, in something, but there's just so many already delayed and postponed because of, so many unforeseen circumstances.
I also want just on that, and knowing that the city is strung out to a lot less people and hardships, is that our Rotary Club does most of the heavy lifting work, because that's what we like to do, is we like to get our hands dirty. So a lot of that we will work with Jeff and the city in making that happen.
Good. Glad to hear that. Because they got their hands full, no doubt about that. They put in some long days. So yeah, there is a lot of voices about what should be done in the Shaw Park. And so shoot, we got to figure out what we're going to do with that master plan and how that's going to be incorporated into that, and, figure out something to be done. So I would encourage you to be a part of next meeting and, see if we can formulate something to get in that pros plan and see what that might look like. We've got another, open house, and I strongly encourage you to take part in that, and everybody who's had an opportunity to sit and listen today as well. That will really help, voice opinions and formulate this plan of what's to come in, the parks of our entire community. So I don't know. Does the commission want to provide a recommendation one way or the other? Or do we want to kind of, talk about it and kind of see where the pros plan is going to lead us to? You've been great in answering a lot of the questions and concerns that have been brought forward. So I do appreciate that. But as far as giving you a yay or nay tonight, is there opinions one way or the other for the commission?
No, I should raise my hand. Never mind.
Louise,
Yes, you did. Louise, go ahead.
I think it's a little premature. I think we're mired in the final stretch of this pros plan process. There are these open houses. The community garden folks that are on probably feel just as passionately about their community garden concept as the dog park. I have nothing against against either concept. They both sound lovely. And then, as Will pointed out, there are many wonderful ideas, and I think it is behoove us to find out what those are. And we have talked about this master planning thing also, and I do think that doing a master plan, I know it slows it down a little bit for Shaw when Shaw's in decrepit shape, but it is valuable for the community long-term that we're not spending money the wrong way or choosing, recommending. We don't really choose, but we recommend. And so we want to recommend the right priority for the right space. And maybe it's a collaborative space, right? I know it's not that big, but is there room for both or room for other, or whatever it might be? So I feel for myself, I need more time.
Great, thanks, Louise. Anastasia?
Yeah, I just wanted to say exactly what Louise said, that it is better to focus on the master plan, to have everything, to take everything into consideration and see what is the best solution for the whole community and for our goals as a Parks Commission. Yeah. We have to see if we can incorporate both in Shaw Park, or see if we can only do one, what is the best solution for most of the community.
Great. Thank you, Anastasia. Will?
Yeah, I agree with Louise's comments. I'd like to wait, but I'd also like, the commission, we did kick around the idea of an interim plan or an interim step between a master plan, recognizing that it takes a really long time to get a master plan assembled. So maybe that's something we can seriously explore as well. But I would just reiterate, I think this is a great idea. I think the community garden is a great idea. I think there's a ton of them. So I'm excited, but
great
process.
Yeah. Roger, do you want to get your comment in?
Louise said it so much better than I did. Good, so that's why I dropped my hand.
I think we're all in agreement, really.
Yeah. Pam and Vicky, certainly appreciate your time, certainly appreciate your participation in Rotary. And, we look forward to, further participation and collaboration. And, maybe this does really happen. But yeah, right now, we couldn't really give you one way or the other, but we hope that, in the future, there is something will be there in Shaw Park, and who knows, it could be a dog park. But right now, I think, yeah, we got to reach out to the community and listen to what they want, especially coming from what comes from the pros plan too. So thank you for your time tonight. Really appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Parks, next on the agenda is the Parks update report.
I have a new business thing first.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Mary.
Okay, just wanted to briefly update everyone. Ben and I met last Friday with Charlie, I don't remember her last name, from the chair of the Arts Commission, to talk about how we might be able to better collaborate with the Arts Commission as we go forward, because there are so many projects that we do that they have a component on, and they do that they need us for, that we felt like it was really a good time to open the door and increase and strengthen our relationship with them. They have also asked to have a separate component for arts and culture in the upcoming city comprehensive plan. And so that was the other reason that we thought it was important to make sure that we know what they're doing and they know what we're doing. So there were two things that came out of that meeting that we would like to recommend to the commission. And one is that we have a representative from the Parks Commission who not sits on the Arts Commission, but kind of like Spencer joins us for our meetings. We would send somebody from Parks to an Arts Commission meeting, and Arts Commission would send someone to our meeting, so that there's just a lot more communication between the two groups. So we want to move forward with that. And then we also, I wanted to make a motion about supporting the Arts Commission having inclusion separate from Parks in the comprehensive plan. So before I put the motion on the floor, since when I do that, we have to second it. I just wanted to see if anybody has any questions about our meeting or anything like that. And if anybody, Anastasia, wants to volunteer to be the liaison to the Arts Commission.
Yeah, so Mary said, we met with Charlie, and it was a really good turnout. We picked up a lot with the Arts Commission was going towards, and I think I think there's a very shared vision between the arts and the parks, and the parks is definitely a very big opportunity to get arts in our community. And a lot of the community response from the pros plan survey has been getting arts into some of our parks and into public spaces. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity there to collaborate with them and support each other through these opportunities.
And I should also add that when we're talking about arts, and I know when the Arts Commission is talking about arts, they're talking about more than statues and paintings. We're talking about music. We're talking about concerts at Scansey. We're talking about arts and culture and kind of the broader picture of what, at least in my mind, I think of as art besides museum.
Yeah. Will, you got your hand up?
Will there be mimes? No, I
have to talk with my hands, sorry.
Mary, could you just clarify, because I'm not sure what motion you're going to put on the table. What I heard was you wanted something about the comp plan separating parks and the art commission. So the art commission is represented differently in the comp plan. Could you just clarify it for me, please?
It's my understanding that currently there is not a separate section of the comprehensive plan for arts and culture. And so what they have been trying for several years now to make sure that there is a separate and more inclusive section in the comprehensive plan for the city surrounding arts and culture. And so we'll just pretend like this doesn't start with the words I move. How about that? So that I'm not actually formally putting it on the table. But if I was, it would start with those two words, that the Parks Commission expressed its support for the inclusion of the arts and culture component in the City of Gig Harbor's comprehensive plan, and asked staff to convey that support to them through a copy of this motion, which isn't a motion because they didn't make it yet. The Parks Commission encourages the growth of all aspects of art and culture in the city, and pledges to work together with the Arts Commission to increase the presence of art in our parks based on a broad sense of the definition of art and culture.
Oh, I would second any motion that read similar to that one. Thank you.
So should I go ahead and move it then?
No, hold on.
Roger's got his hand up.
Yeah, Roger's going to be against it.
No, I'm not. Actually, I think it's a capital idea. Do you think maybe we should have two motions, one to put the arts and culture in the comprehensive plan, and then another motion to, I don't know if to allow them to sit in on our meetings? Actually, it just occurred to me, it may be good to have commissions sit in with each other. I mean, Planning Commission does stuff that could impact us, so we're aware of what's coming along. I mean, there's this intertie of all these people, all of our commissions, and if we're all working separately, we kind of lose some. You kind of lose something there. So I would like them to be sitting here listening so that they know what's going on. We should be listening to them, but I think maybe there's some other commissions that might do well to be just chatting back and forth. I don't want to explode it out of too much, but gosh, it's good to get more input. It's good to get everybody tied in so we all know what's going on, because there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, all of us have said we have a lot of stuff on our plate. The more we can link with each other, I think just the absolute better things turn out without somebody being blindsided, say, I didn't know that was going to happen.
Right.
Oh my God.
I do agree. It should be two different action items though.
Yeah.
Two different motions. Recommendations. Yeah, Louise.
Maybe there's another way to skin the cat. You know, that's a lot of potential meetings for many crossover people on multiple commissions. Maybe there's a representative from each commission that meets that the group, one representative from each is meeting quarterly and doing a group update, and something more like that. And I have no objection to someone from the Arts Commission sitting in on the meeting, or one of us sitting in on the Arts Commission. That's fine. But there's a few of us volunteers and many meetings to be had. So that there might be a 4 meeting a year option instead of a 11 meeting a year option.
Good input, good input. Anastasia?
I think that it is a great idea to participate more in the planning of the other commissions, in the discussions of the other commissions, and I volunteer for participating in the Arts Commission and reporting back to you what they are discussing.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, and so even if it does end up being quarterly, I mean, that person, could watch the meeting minutes on YouTube or what have you, and I mean, even go that route too to get a synopsis. Because I mean, you're right, it is a commitment to participate in all these meetings. Holy heck. So yeah, Mary, you want to go back to your motions? I think go ahead and start with the comp plan, the Arts Commission having they're supporting the freestanding element in the comp plan. I think that adds a lot to give the opportunity for the Arts Commission to provide a solid vision of arts in our community too. So rather than just being a component of the parks pros plan. So I think that gives a lot of opportunity for a well thought out vision for the Arts Commission.
Sure. And Terry, I'll send you this too. So I move that the Parks Commission express its support for the inclusion of an arts and culture component in the City of Gig Harbor's comprehensive plan, and ask staff to convey that support to them through a copy of this motion. The Parks Commission encourages the growth of all aspects of art and culture in the city and pledges to work together with the Arts Commission to increase the presence of art in our parks based on a broad sense of the definition of art and culture.
And is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right. Is there any discussion on that? Any further discussion? No? All right. All in favor of approving the recommendation to that Mary is going to send to Terry? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. All right. That recommendation is passed. And yeah, we'll have that forwarded on to the powers that be. Do you want to go ahead and make the second motion, or would we like to make a second motion that, well, where are we at on that? Would we rather it be like a quarterly report?
Well, I think Louise hit on a good point, and that could be a whole lot of meetings for a whole lot of people. Unless Jeff wants to go to all the meetings.
Jeff doesn't have enough going on.
As Jeff quickly hits the mute button so that we don't hear what he says.
Yeah, I thought I heard something, but okay. I think quarterly would be a good start. I think quarterly is better than nothing. And right now we have nothing. And so we're not aware of what the Planning Commission is talking about unless we all start going to those. But I think having somebody here or having a group meet on a quarterly basis, I guess the question is, would we need a city council member liaison like we have with Spencer at a meeting like that? Or could that be informal?
I don't think it's necessary to have a city council representative. I think it's a good idea if there is one assigned and one available. And since it would likely bring together multiple commissions and involve staff from various departments, I'm not sure if it's appropriate now to create a whole motion, or if there's just some direction to give to, or maybe that's what the motion is direct staff to try and coordinate with other departments and other commissions to bring together such a quarterly meeting.
Yeah, maybe even find out whether there's interest in it. I mean, we clearly here have interest in the Arts Commission, clearly does. I'm hoping that the others would, but I think that's not a bad idea to reach out, ping them and say, hey, the crazy Parks and Rec folks came up with this idea. So what do you think about it?
Yeah.
I don't know that we're in a position to make a motion about what happens with the Planning Commission, for instance.
planning or whatever commission there is.
Yeah, any of the others that isn't us. So
Maybe that just might be me reaching out to the other chairs and seeing if there's that interest levels. And then just for the time being, we make the motion for the Arts Commission quarterly, Anastasia being liaison, and then providing one else, and then we getting those people onto their emailer list for their meetings.
that sounds better. If you reached out to your other chairs and we found out if there was interest, then it would be a much more valid motion, even if the motion is a recommendation to staff.
So Mary, did the Arts Commission express interest that they want to be at all of our meetings, or the quarter? Now we just said quarterly.
When we talked to her, she thought it was a great idea for them to come, for one of them to be assigned to come to our meetings and one of us be assigned, for lack of a better word, to come to their meetings. Because if nothing else, the SNAG project, the honoring project in the harbor, looking at concerts, that kind of thing, there's so much overlap there. I guess I feel like it makes sense to go ahead and start that relationship right now while we look at something more comprehensive going forward.
I think that's fine.
Yep.
Okay. So do we need a motion at this point then, just to do the Arts Commission, or do we, to get that part at least going?
Do
or
it.
Just do it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've already cleared it with their chairs. Jeff, do you think, or Terry, do you think anything beyond that? Besides asking you guys to add Anastasia to their mailer, and I think it's Lynn Stevenson to ours.
Yeah, I think just general direction. I don't think there's a formal motion for something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I believe Lynn Stevenson is the one from the Arts Commission, and then Anastasia will be our representative from the Parks Commission. So just add that to the mailers, and then Anastasia, if you just want to provide every 3 months, provide us, input with what's going on there. And then, if they're looking for any general support or added things to our work plan that might be helpful to them or anything like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
absolutely.
we could put a short report from her on our agenda every meeting. If there's nothing to say, she says,
Yeah.
hey, we didn't meet or they didn't meet or whatever. I think that would be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as kind of the committee reports.
Yeah.
Yeah, commission reports, commission and committee reports. Okay, that sounds good.
Well, thank you,
Thanks.
Anastasia, for stepping up and volunteering
Oh,
for that.
absolutely. I think it will be extremely interesting.
Oh, I think so too. I'm looking forward to hearing
Thank you.
with our Arts Commission.
All right.
Are we on the Jeff yet?
Yeah, we're on a Jeff.
All right. Park update. So again, Terry has provided your park update with your packet. I'm just going to highlight a couple of items and then go off script and talk about a couple of things. I'm going to now, what's that, page 2, anti-human powered watercraft storage design. I just want to let you know that we are getting close to moving forward with some rental terms for the general public to gain access into the Antique Boat Storage Building. Community Paddlers Dock is on schedule to be open to the public by spring of next year. So this anti-human powered craft storage will be coinciding with that. We're going to be at the Public Works Committee meeting on November 9th with some rates. Just a quick peek at what's going to be there. There's going to be rates for 6-month rates for January through June and July through December, similar to what we've talked about at the Parks Commission earlier this year. And it's going to be for in-city residents and non-city residents, different rates. And we will be putting together a lottery system to select who's going to be participating and being able to store their boat at the boat storage building, assuming that there's going to be more demand than we have space available.
So it sounds like a great deal of what we had proposed from the Parks Commission was used in their deliberations.
It was. So the only thing the council is going to formally adopt, though, is the fee schedule.
Right.
The mayor has and staff are developing the terms along with AWC and the city attorney. So
Okay.
for terms for the rental.
Good.
Yeah, that's been, it set up the framework very nicely.
Okay.
We got a question. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So Jeff, if you're successful and a resident is able to store their boat there for 6 months and pay the appropriate fees, does it re-enter the lottery after that 6 months, or is it, how do you deal with that? I mean, is there a
At
term?
the end of 6 months, the lease is over, or the rental term is over, everybody has to reapply
Okay,
every 6 months. Yeah. And there's a whole schedule in our draft terms of what that process looks like. There's a whole cover page that says, here's what you're going to want to do if you want to store your boat here.
Good.
Yeah. All right, so that's Ansage.
Oh, Jeff, I had a quick question on that. Is there going to be a cleaning period in between the lease terms?
There is going to be between December and January, it's the end of December and January. I forget what dates I threw out there, but it's going to be like a week at the end of December going into January where all boats will have to be removed out of there for cleaning.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't want to do that in July, though. I mean, we can adjust and pivot if necessary, but between June and July, just because it's going to be so popular.
Yeah, I think with July when you're in peak season and stuff like that, and people won't be happy about that.
No, no.
And then do you know if they ended up where the final consensus was on the storage locker system?
Yes, that's in there. In fact, there's a fee going to be proposed to the Public Works Committee. It's a $60 per 6 month time period for storage lockers.
Awesome. Awesome. Glad to see that guy in there.
Yep. Yep. All right. So I'm moving on to Ed Boat Railway carriages. I just wanted to highlight this one. Of course, it's in your packet. But if you didn't get a chance to see the staff or the presentation that was made to City Council at their October 25th meeting, the Gig Harbor Boat Shop made a great presentation on the railways with the video. So with drone footage and still pictures all sewn together. So it was a great presentation. There's still more that needs to be done to finalize it, but they're almost completely done. If you walk down there today, you'll see it pretty much looks the way it will need to, it will be in the future to pull boats out of the water. So lots going on down there, lots of volunteer effort to do that, and lots of city money put in to buy the materials. So great teamwork on that.
Well, side comment, dragon boating a week, maybe 2 weeks ago on Thursday night. And, it's getting dark now. And as we turned that bottom corner by Anthony's and was coming back by Ansich, Eden was all lit up inside and the doors were open. And it really looked like history had come alive. And it was gorgeous. And we all stopped and oohed and took a break there. And I thought, what a beautiful addition, a historic addition, if that makes sense, to the harbor. I'm very happy to see that rebuilt in that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. It brings a vibrancy to the downtown.
Yeah, in a really cool,
Yeah,
it's history, but it's still happening. It's still working. And it's a beautiful building and a beautiful presentation. And it was just all lit up and it was just gorgeous.
sort of part of the working waterfront movement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was amazing.
It's very authentic for Gig Harbor.
Yeah.
And I think they're still doing free tours right now. If you go down there, I think they have a free tour schedule going on if you want to tour, more up close down there.
I talked with Guy Hoppin today about a couple subjects, and he has said that they're starting to ramp back up since their lull during COVID. So keep your eye out for that. There's gonna be more to come.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was asked, as I always am, to give a quick update on the parks manager process. So I talked to the city administrator today about a variety of things, and I asked him the latest on this. And I want to pass along that we have identified a candidate that we are currently performing background checks on and negotiating with. So I hope to have by the next Parks Commission meeting a formal announcement.
Cool.
A long time coming, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything you've done to help move that along.
Yeah.
But you'll
absolutely.
still come to all of our meetings, right, Jeff?
Of course.
Yeah.
As he hits the mute button.
I'm sure I will be involved in some way sometimes.
Well,
Yeah. And then I wanted to, again, go off script a little bit. I wanted to talk about two things that is not in the parks update, but I wanted to mention, and this was discussed at council in September and October. The city has received a donation for property at the intersection of Cushman Trail and 96th Street. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and show a map of that area and identify the actual parcel. So hopefully you can see my screen now. Just to orient yourself, if you can see my cursor, here's.
We cannot see your screen.
There it
Oh, now
goes.
we can.
oh yeah.
Okay.
The hefty file.
Yeah. So here's Burnham Drive, the roundabout at Harbor Hill Drive, and then 96th Street. And you can see Cushman Trail. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So
You need to update your map, Jeff.
I need to update the map.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I see it. Okay. I wasn't able to see Cushman Trail past.
Oh,
96.
yeah, it's buried
Nice.
it's hidden between all the vegetation.
Oh.
By the way, this picture was taken on September 3rd, 2020. So
Okay,
that's
got it.
that's
All
the
right.
age of this picture. But yeah, so there's the Cushman Trail, there's the property. Half or more of this area is wetland, but we anticipate that we will be able to use it for a limited amount of parking stalls in the future. It's going to come in as a real property, a parcel, and then there's a possibility where we're likely going to be dedicating it as right of way in the future. And it was no cost to the city. The developer, this parcel was part of the North Creek development, which is the large development that you see to the west, 100 some odd lots, or maybe it's 85 lots, but this was originally part of this plat when the owner purchased it and didn't have a use for it. So it's a lot, like I said, it's a lot of wetlands, and the developer just said, okay, they just don't want to keep it on their tax rolls anymore. So they donated it to the city of Gig Harbor. We've put forth to RCO a waiver of retroactivity. So if at some point in the near future, we request an RCO grant for the development of this property, we can use the value of the property, not the purchase amount since it was free, but the value of the property as matched toward any grant that we submit.
Cool.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So that's happening now. We will hope to close on that by the end of the month.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah. And then lastly, I just wanted to note timing for the 2022 work plan, the Parks Commission work plan. We talked about it loosely about starting that process, and there was some discussion on it. And then I had some more conversation with the city administrator, and he strongly encouraged us to pause on it and move it forward to a study session, joint study session with Parks Commission and City Council in January or February with the new council that'll be coming on board. So that's been paused. And then I will also have, by the way, the final draft of the pros plan by then. So it will be able to coincide good with the final draft of the pros plan and the new council, and then be able to give some great guidance on how the Parks Commission can have what they can put on their work plan for 2022. So that's an update on that.
That's good.
Any questions on anything?
Do we have an install date for the art?
Oh, honoring art.
Yeah.
We are continuing to work with the Puyallup tribe and foundation designers to modify the foundation to minimize impact to the site. I hope to have a draft design maybe the end of this week, first part of next week, have a conversation with the Puyallup tribe, and then move forward with all the rest of the permits that we need to do to complete that. So a long way of saying I don't have a final date yet, but it's probably going to be foundation design, foundation construction through winter, and we're going to work with the Puyallup tribe to see how they want to dedicate the art and have a ribbon cutting or a ceremony for it in the spring.
And Public Works is still going to design or construct that.
No, at this point, I've talked to Ken Andrews, and it's becoming more of a unique and challenging concrete project than he had first anticipated. So it's probably gonna be put out to bid and constructed by a contractor.
Gotcha.
So another question for you. Are you done, Ben?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just when do you think we're gonna see any work starting on the paddler's dock? It's late 2021.
Yeah, it's probably gonna, the contractor, I was not at the last meeting with the contractor. We have bi-weekly meetings and I missed the last one, but my understanding is that the contractor is probably gonna be holding on. They're gonna do a lot of work at their yard in Tacoma. And then they're going to bring it all in on a barge at once and remove the old and put in the new over the course of just a couple weeks. And so now they're saying, looking at their schedule, we're going to be having it in January. I
Okay.
think.
Do we have plans, or is there anything in the contract to be taking photos of the barge coming in with that? I think that would be a pretty awesome thing to start showing people.
Mhm.
Yeah, we do. You know, when we did the marine outfall in 2009, and we had barges and platforms all throughout the city, we had aerial photography hired, and the inspector George Flanagan, he's a great photographer, and so I'm sure that between he and others, we'll be able to capture that barge coming in and setting out. We document all that for construction projects, and this will be just the
That's
same.
also something that we might want to coordinate with Laura on, just to get
Yeah.
that out. So when people see a big barge coming in, they're thinking probably quite a few people aren't going to know what that is. So it might be good.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
We do have a public outreach document that Public Works updates every 2 weeks, and it's submitted to council on the Friday before the council meeting. And it has all of our active public outreach we're doing for capital projects.
Good.
Will, you got?
Yeah, just a quick question, Jeff, following up on that I guess, parcel that you had mentioned, surplus parcel along Cushman Trail. So I guess you don't hear this from many public works directors, but I'd hate to see more pavement added than needs to be added. I mean, that Donkey Creek is a wetland and a stream has been hugely impacted. Will you explore other opportunities for that parcel? As in, could it be developed as a side stop, education outreach, explanation of that watershed, what's going on in it for people who are using the trail to stop, take a break and observe? Or is it already decided that it's just going to be 2 extra parking stalls that probably, well, I don't know if they'd be used or not anyway?
It's not yet decided. It's just people park there already. And so we just, before the sidewalk went in, there was the developer who constructed the North Creek Plat that was just to the west of Cushman Trail there, put sidewalk, curb and gutter along there. And before that sidewalk was there, people parked there routinely. And so it was just trying to formalize something that was already there was the idea. And there's a gap of about 3 miles of official trail parking. And this would almost hit in the center of that 3 mile gap. So that was the concept. But yes, well, we can absolutely explore. It's not set in stone.
There's still more room for other things besides a few cars there, isn't there? I mean, I saw the parcel wasn't very big, but it wasn't 3 cars small either.
No, rough concepts we just sketched out. We figured we could get at least 4 stalls in there, maybe more if we do some unique parking layouts. And we could, like I said, there's a lot of wetland buffer in there, and we could use that also.
Yeah.
I think
A little concerning, with the crime that's already happening at our trailheads.
Yeah.
It's like to add another hot spot would, yeah. But I could see the need. I mean, like you said, 3 miles between trailheads and parking. But yeah, the crime associated with those trailheads is concerning.
Lots of investment in security cameras right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else for Jeff?
I think it's time for him to go. Oh.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Roger, anything new from Leaf Line on the committee reports?
No, I'll
No?
be able
Okay.
to spend some more time now that things are done. Election's
Well,
over.
have you been busy?
A little bit.
Well, we look forward to Anastasia's committee report in the coming future here. We'll get you, make sure I'll connect with you and get you connected with them for sure. Make sure you're in touch with the right people. I think Terry's gonna add you to their mailing list, but just kind of lay it out for you and stuff like that. And on to public comment. Was there anybody else who would care to, I think we're down to just 3 people, share any public comment? Feel free to raise your hand. Like I said, there was a ton of public comment submitted. Yeah, some of it was duplicative, but there was also a lot that was, unique. So feel free to look through it. I mean, there was a lot. It's probably the most I've seen in a few years for public comment. So please feel free to take your time and read through a few of them. Like I said, there was one that had, I think, almost 100 signatures on it. So yeah, there's definitely some support for something going in Shaw Park. So let's, I think most of us feel like we're on the same thing, and that there should probably be some sort of further community outreach or plan developed for that. So, just make sure the loudest voice doesn't get what they want. But
we including the public comment as just an attachment to the minutes. Is that the approach that's being used essentially?
Yeah. If not, was Terry, do you know if it was full access to the rest of the commission through that Dropbox link or the box link?
What I'll probably do is make a combined document and then send a link to everybody so they can access it. And that way you don't have to look at each individual file.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Terry.
Because there's only so many hours in the day.
I'm really glad to see all the comment though and all the input from people. That's really, really encouraging.
Right.
Yeah, there was, I printed it all out because there was a lot. So I did read it all. There was, like I said, there was a lot. So please take your time to do that if you have the opportunity. It will be submitted, as public comment for the record as well. Anything else? Go to the order? No. All right.
Move
Well,
to adjourn.
yeah, I'll second that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Nope. All right, you guys have a good night. Thank you so much.
Bye,
Yes,
everybody.
opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you,
night.
guys.
Thank you.